Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today I am wanting to talk about Freedom Fighters. Freedom Fighters is a very nostalgic game for me. Like a lot of this stuff that I'm doing is because it's basically I'm just doing games I like that are old right now. So Freedom Fighters was released in 2003. It came out on GameCube, PC, PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. My first interaction with it was having bought it, I think, for a Christmas present from my father, who is a gamer, although he likes his games a certain way. Let's just put it like that. But he loved this game, and I played it as well, and did indeed love it too. Years later, it's now been re-released on GOG. I think it came out in 2020. I think it came out on multiple platforms, but for an old game like this I'd probably go to GOG over the others because obviously they have a lot of extra tools that allow you to run games. Like you can buy an old game on Steam and have it not run. I've had that before. So yeah, GOG would be the place I go. It's a third-person shooter and it's set in an alternate universe. So basically what happened is in the Second World War, the Soviet Union basically won it by dropping a bomb on Berlin, a nuclear bomb. And this allowed them to enforce other communist states and eventually spread their influence. And it results in the beginning of the game where they invade New York City via submarine. You play as Chris Stone, who is a plumber at the beginning of the game, with his brother, Troy. Chris doesn't have a mustache, Troy does, so there are Mario illusions to be made. And you've gone out on a plumbing job to an activist's apartment. She's not there. You're looking around and looking at the sinks and stuff like that and doing plumbery things. And then a Soviet task force break in looking for the occupant of the apartment, who I think is Isabella Angelina, which is a terrible name. Well done for that one, lads, but okay, moving on. Because she's very anti-communist. And obviously they find you there, assume that for some reason two people dressed as plumbers are her boyfriends? Okay, alright, fine. You hide, but they capture your brother. And you go outside after they've left and find people lined up in the hall with one guard there. So you give them a good old clobbering with your wrench. And one of the guys there, Mr. Jones, he takes you away and you meet up with other people and form the resistance against the Soviet invaders. Obviously, the subject matter of the game speaks to, current events. But the thing that made it really good at the time was the team that you would have in the game. You start off with like one or two and then you sort of build up until you got like a whole big old posse behind you. The actions that you dictate to the team are quite simplistic from today's standards. You just tell them what to do and they just go do it, like defend, attack, let's go, stuff like that. But they were actually useful, which was fairly rare in 2003 to have AI squad mates that were actually of use. They would clear a room for you if you told them to do it. They weren't perfect, but they were well done. You could also, give them weapons and stuff, so you could bring like a mix of weapons that you wanted that you thought would be useful on the mission. The weapons are all pretty good. It's none of this superhuman shit though. So, I mean, you play Chris, a plumber. You're not a soldier when you start the game. You obviously learn those skills. So when you pick up a gun and you aim down the sights and you aim at somebody, it won't go where your reticle is pointing. It will go near where your reticle is pointing. So you might line up a perfect headshot with a pistol and it misses. And you'll be like, oh, it's okay. Now, while it can be frustrating, because obviously if you've got the reticle over someone's head, you expect to shoot them in the face. But it is realistic because, despite where you... I mean, if you've ever aimed anything in real life, where you're aiming and where it goes can occasionally be totally different. So it's a nice level of realism, and it also speaks to the everyman nature of your character. He's not a super soldier. He's not Rambo and a Schwarzenegger character. He's just a plumber. So that's nice. And as the game progresses, you become the leader of the resistance and give inspiring speeches and stuff like that. There is a news network in the game, which has obviously been taken over by Russia relatively early on, and just is a propaganda station. They call you the Freedom Phantom. Is it the Phantom Freedom? No, that's what it is nowadays. Little political joke there for you. But yes, so it's interesting to see watching this propaganda station go on. The anchor's not bad looking. You can tell she's Russian just from looking at her. She has the old stereotypical Russian features, let's just say. But yes, very nice. Lana, there you go. For all you wrestling fans out there, I think Lana, even though CJ Perry is not Russian at all, but they cast her for a reason. Anyway, where was I? I'm off topic all of a sudden, talking about wrestling people. Which I might touch on again, actually, because not in this video, but there's been some interesting updates to 2K22, I think. Is it 22? I think it's 20. The new one, anyway. They've done some interesting things, which deserves to be talked about, but not in this video. So, Freedom Fighters, the footage you're seeing is the GOG version. I haven't had to do much. I did pre-patch it for widescreen compatibility, but I'm not sure I had to in the end, because the in-game options appear to provide you widescreen anyway. I think the patch that I found was actually for perhaps like retail versions back in the day. So it's nice. The Xbox version is backwards compatible as well, so if you've got a newer Xbox console and want to play Freedom Fighters, it should be available to be played on it either by disc or hopefully on the store, although that's in question. Interactive, that did the game, are of course very famous for doing the Hitman series. They also did Mini Ninjas and the 2 Kane and Lynch games, which the first one was mediocre, the second one was massively style over substance and was very distracting. With all it was like, yes, let's have video compression errors and stuff like that in the game because that's gonna make it better. I mean, it doesn't make a video better when you're watching a video and it does that. Why would it make it? Never mind. They also did Mini Ninjas as well, which is something I've seen, but I've never actually played myself. So they are quite pedigreed. Yeah. They were at Square Enix for a while when Square overtook Eidos, who are the parent company, and they split away from them. And interestingly enough, Freedom Fighters is one of the licenses that they retain control of, having published it before the buyout. So, you know, fingers crossed we might see one, although, you know, they've been saying, well, we're interested in doing another Freedom Fighter, and then I think they've actually announced one at one point, but it never came to anything because they were moved exclusively to Hitman. But yeah, they do retain control of the franchise, so hopefully, you know, if people want it, then hopefully we'll get a new one, because the game, although ending on a high note, isn't conclusive. The conflict still rages. You've just fomented sort of resistance more as the game ends. It's very much like how The Last Jedi ended, with like hope, that sort of thing. But obviously done about a bazillion times better than in that particular terrible movie. So that is Freedom Fighters. It's an old game, so be ready for some jank. But it's a great game. Highly recommend it. It's satisfying. It's, you know, pertinent to news of the time. You know, all the angst that you're feeling right now, you can like live out in the streets of New York. There you go. So yeah, get it. I mean, as I say, it's on GOG. Originally came out on GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. I imagine you can probably pick up a version of that for pretty cheap on second hand. I would probably recommend PC as being the way to go, as I normally would. Simply because you can have higher resolutions and better performance. It is capped at 62 frames per second on PC. This is due to the fact it will break a lot of stuff if it goes any higher than that. Even nowadays, a lot of game engines are reliant on a consistent frame rate to do things properly. Like the Creation Engine, looking at you, you know, come on. You're a AAA studio and you can't give me above 60 because you can't. It's not even a port, dude. What are you doing? Anyway, that's my review of Freedom Force. Not Freedom Force, Freedom Fighters. Freedom Force is an entirely separate game that I may cover at some point, and we'll enjoy that. Anyway, guys, take it easy. I'll catch you next week.